I have for some time now been particularly interested in the Renaissance. I did my PhD actually in history and Renaissance studies, so my background is in humanities. I was interested in what the Renaissance was, what it meant. It felt like there was something distinctly different about this time period to me, about something that was going on. And in undergraduate, I learned about the Divine Comedy from a teacher named Walter Stevens, and sort of pursued a deeper understanding of 14th century Italian poetry in particular. Became acquainted with Christopher Celenza, and I took his courses on the Renaissance. It was striking to me because most of the Renaissance is not about vernacular poetry. The majority of the Renaissance is about Latin works and the recovery of Greek and the translation of Greek into Latin. And I was like, oh, interesting. That's, turned out that's not what I studied at all, but that's what I want to learn about. So I decided to do a graduate program, and my graduate program was in Renaissance studies. And I was like, I want to do this. I effectively want to now get a classical education as much as I can. And so I started studying Renaissance humanists. I spent a number of years going through coursework in my graduate program, and it was very helpful, and I learned quite a lot. But at the end of that time, I still did not understand what the Renaissance was. Right. I spent, 2 years in coursework. I spent, a lot of time reading a number of books about early modern Europe and doing all kinds of different graduate fields and oral examinations and things like this, and wrote a prospectus and was like, okay, I'm going to go study a humanist in Poland who was Italian, who's doing humanism. And I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure out what's humanism. I'm going to figure out what the Renaissance is, because I'm at the end of this. I just studied this for 3.5 years, very intensively. I still don't know what it is. I still don't know what this thing is. I know what people have said, but I don't really understand it. I don't have a model of this. What my graduate advisors told me to do, just try to figure out what this guy thought, right? You have this particular, there is this particular poet and historian, just figure out what he thought. I took this very seriously and was just like, well, how do people think? What does it mean to think? How do you know if someone is genuine, right? Because we were living in this graduate school intellectual time period of like, well, everybody's disingenuous because everybody wants power. It's a kind of Machiavellian, appropriately, a Machiavellian view of the world, that really everything is just an instrument toward the acquisition of power. And you shouldn't take anything anyone says at face value for that reason. Okay. There is some use in that, right? In that there are other things that people are saying besides what they say, right? Don't take someone maybe just at face value, because we don't necessarily know everything that we're saying. When we say something, there's something else that's happening there at the same time. So there is a value in that approach, but this idea of, well, really it's just all about power. And Renaissance was this, elite movement that was about power and majesty and establishing a new aristocracy or splendor or propaganda on the part of the popes or something like that, right? And it's not to say that that's not a part of it. It's not to say that there weren't people who were doing that. But was that really what everybody was doing? Was it really that the only reason that this massive cultural movement that somehow we attribute the birth moment of modern civilization was really all about a cynical power grab? That I just couldn't, I had a very difficult time with that. Started investigating, I started reading quite heavily Jordan Peterson's work. I discovered McGilchrist and his hemisphere hypothesis through Peterson, because McGilchrist also had this sort of idea that there was some sort of underlying rebalancing or sort of meta awareness of modalities of seeing the world, paying attention to the world. At the end of Master and His Emissary in 2009, he does talk about this tail argument about how you can see the sort of right hemispheric mode of attending comes through in the Renaissance, or comes through in Greek thought at times like Heraclitus, and comes through in the thought of some of the Romantics, because he's very interested in Schelling's Naturphilosophie. And that's really kind of become my obsession for the past 3 to 4 years. There's a claim here that there is some sort of disequilibration of modes of human perspective in looking at the world. We sort of modify our environment in such a way, it's our tendency to modify our environment in such a way that the environment that we build for ourselves has that disequilibration settle in, and that there are these moments that realign things, and that maybe the Renaissance was that.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that clip, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can keep updated with my new podcast, 21st Century Renaissance. See you there.